So Neil, thank you for joining me this morning. I kind of wanted to talk about, this is probably one of the last times we'll talk before the year is over. And so I just wanted to talk with you about, what a year it's been for Rhode Island Foundation and how the foundation has helped so many during the pandemic. You guys already helped so many people prior to the pandemic, but just kind of talk about how this year has been for you guys in terms of getting people what they need.
Sure, thanks. And thanks for your support too. We all know this has been an extraordinary year, hopefully once in a lifetime for all of us. And quickly the need in the community just exploded. So right from the beginning of the pandemic, which was either a long 9 months ago or only 9 months ago, depending how you look at it, we could see the impact. So when you had unemployment coming up and you had healthcare issues coming up, many in our community started to have needs, whether it was food insecurity or making rental payments, getting healthcare. As an aside, as it went on longer and longer, more behavioral health issues, substance abuse issues, domestic violence issues. And it just created challenges for many Rhode Islanders, and more than in the past. So the term vulnerable population just grew and grew. We're kind of in the business of supporting the state, and we're the largest grant maker, we're the largest fundraiser, and we want to address and meet the needs of the people of Rhode Island. So we went into kind of hyperdrive above and beyond all our other work in education and health and economic security and supporting the arts and everything, but specifically addressing this. So right from the get-go, mid-March, end of March, we raised over several months $15 million. $7 million for a general support fund, $5 million for behavioral health, and $3 million we are one with the governor for undocumented immigrants. And what we saw is working with very generous donors. And we literally got contributions of $1 to millions of dollars. So Rhode Islanders really responded. And working with the incredibly impactful, passionate, hardworking nonprofits in this state who are the boots on the ground. And what we saw though is as quickly as we could get the money in, that's how quickly we needed to get it out and address the needs. So most recently, within the last 2 months, part of the CARES Act money was still available, as we know, at the state level. And there was money that was earmarked for nonprofits, to support nonprofits. So we went to the state and we partnered with the state and offered to run the grant program. It's what we do. We'd already done it for $15 million. We said, okay, you have additional money. We know how to do it. It's our core competency. We're experts at doing it. So we worked with the state, and ultimately the state provided $5 million of CARES Act funding. So this is from our delegation working hard for us at DC, hopefully right now working hard for us to get more funds. And then the state allocating it. And this again was specifically for nonprofits. So we ran a grant program, as we know how to do. In a couple of weeks, we got $4 million more outside of that original $15 million out the door to nonprofits for critical needs. This could be for organizations that are serving kids and food and diapers. It could be serving the elderly to help them with telehealth. It could be for veterans. It could be everybody in different communities. And then another $1 million on top of that, specifically for domestic violence, or not to help address domestic violence. So it went to some of the key organizations in the state who run shelters, who help people in that situation. So overall, in addition to our whatever $50–60 million of grant making that we're going to do broadly, this was an additional $20 million that we brought in and put out as quickly as we can. And honestly, we don't see the need stopping. This is the best of times and the worst of times. The best of times is we have this miraculous vaccine or vaccines right around the corner. And the worst of times because people are really hurting. And so there's still a need for additional support. And so we'll keep looking for it and we'll keep helping getting it out the door.
Thank you, Neil. So I just wanted to clarify, you said that the CARES Act money, that specific 5 million was designated for nonprofits. So it's not taking from any other CARES Act money that may still be able to go out.
That's correct. Yeah. So when it
Okay.
was first, the 1.25 billion came into the state, and they looked at how it was to be parceled out. There was an allocation for nonprofits, and there are other programs that have been done through the state, through Commerce, for the arts organizations and tourism and others. This was more for those on the ground, critical needs, people who need help, people who need resources, and the nonprofit community out there is so great at accomplishing that.
Right. I was speaking with Project Undercover yesterday with Richard
Mm-hmm.
Fleischer, and he was telling me that this grant money is really going to help them because they have, their needs this year anyway that have increased with the pandemic, but they're now offering more than what they usually do. They're now going to get, woolen hats and gloves instead of, diapers or underwear for children. And so that this grant money that Rhode Island Foundation is giving them is helping them to get those things instead of things that they normally need. So they're able to, keep up with demand and then offer more to people that need it, especially during the winter months. So those are some of the things that I've heard already that, that have really positively impacted those organizations, like you say, that are the boots on the ground during this pandemic.
Yeah, and you just highlighted during the winter months, it's one of the big differences. So early in the pandemic, it was March, we were going into April, and then the summer. Going into the winter now, which is tough for people anyway. So if you're strained with resources and you're worried about your heating bill, you're worried about gloves and hats, you're worried about food, it just gets tougher in the winter. So the need is there, and we encourage people who have resources, always ask people, take care of your family first, take care of organizations that you've always been near and dear to. And then if you have extra resources, let us know. We'll get them out to those in need across the state.
You also touched on the vaccine, and, in the last week, we have our first vaccine where, a second one is also coming. And so do you anticipate that Rhode Island Foundation may have any sort of involvement in helping fund any sort of distribution or anything related to the vaccine coming out?
Yeah, I mean, we work very closely with Dr. Alexander Scott, Department of Health, and all the other state agencies and the nonprofits. And it's not really directly, we're not in the giving shots business. But there may be an opportunity, I think, as it goes along on the communication side, communicating with the community, communicating with, as we know, there are many folks that for various reasons, historical reasons, doubts, things like that, who may be reticent. So if we can help spread the word intelligently and accurately across the state, that's an area where we've offered to help at the state level. But as we know, it's going to take a little longer than we all either think it will or want it to through the spring into the summer to make that big difference. And that's why we just need to help people get through this, whether it's kids in school, whether it's getting them the health care, whether it's getting them mittens and gloves. It really is incumbent on all of us to take care of our friends, neighbors, coworkers, and everybody throughout the state.
And so looking ahead into 2021, I know that there's a committee with the Rhode Island Foundation that we covered a couple of weeks ago that may be nearing more the Equity Committee? Forgive me for forgetting the title. So do they have? Yeah. So do they have some updates coming in January or the beginning part of the year that you might be able to share what we may be able to look forward to with that?
Well, we announced this and it's a multi-year commitment. We hired Angie Ancoma to head our leadership initiative, which is cultivating and identifying leaders in the communities of color. And then we'll be announcing some partnerships, some grants, I think, after after the first of the year. But you can see the tie-in even with COVID. So you look at the hard-hit communities, the Black community, the Latino community, that have been hard hit by COVID. And when you look underneath it on why they were hard hit, it wasn't anything we didn't already know. These disparities that existed in healthcare, for example, with those populations have been around for a while. So the work that we're doing on healthcare, achievement gaps in education, all feeding into this diversity, equity, and inclusion work going into next year, really necessary for us to come out of this. We need to come out of this pandemic better. You know, I had said a while ago that I really didn't like the term new normal because the old normal left too many people behind in the community. We need a better future. It needs to be better for people across the board, across different populations, providing opportunities, addressing racism that's there. And all of that combines when you have something as severe as the pandemic to hit people in need. So yes, that initiative, we'll be announcing more, but we'll also be building up through the year on different partnerships in the community.
Neil, I think that's everything I have for you. You touched on a lot of the CARES Act stuff before I got to really ask you about it, but I think I think you got it all in, unless there's anything else that you wanted to add.
No, I have it in my mind, and without knowing specifically when you're asked, I get wound up and give the whole thing. But no, that's what it is. You know, it was the fact that we had done that $15 million before, that we felt very confident going to the state and saying, let us help you, you know, partner with it, because they're just so, you know, you read about it. We're a little more streamlined to get this money out the door than they are.
Right. I'm sure they're appreciating the help.
Yeah. And you know, needless to say, we absorb the cost and everything of getting it out the door, but the key is just getting it to people. And I didn't highlight, I guess, and I don't know, I forgot, but this is money that had to get used by the end of the year. That's what was so critical about it.
Right. So that will be done. That will be done before the end of the year.
No, it's gone.
It's gone.
They're spending it, you know, the people you talk to, they're spending it now.
Yeah.
And they have to spend it before the end of the year. Hopefully we'll get more, but you know, I don't know what's going on in Washington.
I know it changes every day. It's going to include stimulus. It's not. It's going to have this. It's not. It's hard to keep up.
I know when people, you know, in senior positions say they'll never do this, and the next day they're doing it.
You know, I remember back when we got the first stimulus checks, and you had mentioned that people donated those checks.
They did. They did.
Do you think if we get a second round of checks, do you think that might happen again?
You know, you never know. They're designed to go to people that need them, so you hope people need them. But clearly, it goes to some people or winds up going to people that might not. And I think, yes, it will. We continue all of these funds, the original response fund, the behavioral health, we get contributions all the time. All the time we get them. And because we can promise that it will get out to the people in need. We got a $250,000 gift just the other day to the original response fund, to people that said, we want to help, and we know who's doing what on the ground, and people come to us, the organization. So we're able to do that. That's why I made that kind of soft pitch of if you have extra resources. And it's clear to me that this is that, I guess they describe a K recovery. You know, that there are people on the upswing whose expenses have gone down and they're saving money. And then there's a lot more people on that downswing where they need the funds. But it just as the disease has not been fair, who it hits, the financial impact is tough. And, you know, so going into 2021, even with the vaccine, the lingering effects of unemployment, the lingering effects of substance abuse, behavioral health, they don't go away in 3 months. Right. So I think we're in for a tough time for a while. I think it'll pick up and people will feel better and get back to activities. But you know, it's going to take a while, I think, to get it all back together. So
we've got a lot of work ahead.
Yeah, we all do. And you know, I hope I say this every time, and I mean it. This really helps get the word out, and we appreciate it. People will hear this, and either people who are in need in organizations will hear it and call, and people who have resources will call too and provide additional contributions. So it's much more than a news story to us. It really is part of people helping each other when they're out there. So I thank you. And it's also very helpful that you've been doing it ongoing, because we don't start from scratch every time. It's very helpful.
Happy to get the word out, Neil. Thank you so much, as always.